This video is to give you guys some idea of the M109 M90 tire conversion. The tools that you'll need are 17 millimeter socket, 19 millimeter bit socket, 32 millimeter wrench, 6 millimeter hex Allen, 8 millimeter hex Allen, and a small screwdriver. Okay, my conversion was an easy swap, only for the simple fact as that all of the bearings and seals were included in the rim I got from the 109. Nothing was taken out, so for the most part it was just a switch, so to speak, which made things relatively easy. All right, let's get the bike jacked up here and get started. You start on the left side of the bike and take your small screwdriver, and there's a slot right up under the bottom that you can just push the screwdriver in and just pry it loose. Really simple to come out, which exposes the socket. Now, to release the caliper, there are two bolts, as you see here. Now, they were pretty tight, so for the most part, I just got a pry bar to break those two bolts. With an 8 millimeter hex Allen. And once I broke those two bolts, for the most part, I just screwed them out. Again, that's an 8 millimeter hex Allen. Once I took out those two screws, caliper for the most part just came right off. Use the tie strip to stick through one of the holes. And just for the most part, attach it to the frame, keep it out of the way. I suppose I probably could have laid a cloth across my exhaust pipes, but fortunately I didn't scratch them. I'm sure some of you will lay a piece of rag across there. Once that was secure, went back to the other side and used a 19 millimeter big socket. To hold that side. So that I could go back to the other side, and for the most part use a 32 millimeter wrench just to loosen that bolt, or for the most part take the bolt off. And that exposes the bolt, and as you can see, now for the bracket you need a 17 millimeter socket. As you can see here, the caliper bracket bolt. I had to use a long extension only for the simple fact is my saddlebags were on the side. It was difficult to reach it, so I used a long extension to be able to go over from the top and take that bolt out. Turn the axle back a little bit, and for the most part, just pull it straight out. You might have to adjust the weight on the tire. Move the tire back, and of course you need to remove the caliper bracket from the other side. And the tire comes right off. Now there's actually a spacer that didn't come off with the tire, and you can see it here. That definitely has to stay in there. Remove the 6 screws along with the collar that's there and put it on your M109 wheel. Don't forget that collar that's attached to the front of the disc. Now this is the part all of you guys are going to beat me up about. Actually, when I got ready to lift the tire up in there, I should have made some adjustments to the camera, but unfortunately I didn't. So when I actually raised the tire up to where the axle goes in, you're not actually going to see that part. I lifted the tire up enough to push the axle halfway through, as you see here. So the tire was lifted up to in position, slid over into the gears, and the axle pushed in. Came to the other side, make sure the collar was pushed in. Align the bracket, and be sure to turn it the right way, of course. Reached across to the other side and push the axle through. I was actually able to push the axle all the way through to where it exposed the threads to this side. And just put the nut on to hold it in place. And it did slip over just a little, but I was able to push it back over. Wanted to make sure everything lined up. So at this point, I actually put the bracket screw in the top. Didn't tighten it up, but wanted to make sure everything lined up correctly prior to tightening. Once I got that screwed in, just to make sure everything lined up, prior to starting to tighten some things down. Now, of course, you're supposed to tighten that rear nut to 72.5 torque pounds. So I'm sure you guys can kind of look that up. I'm not a bike mechanic, so therefore you might want to do some specs of your own. But you should torque that to 72.5. And once I got that pretty much tightened, I went back and actually tightened the top bracket screw, which should be 39 foot. And once that was completed, cut the band off the caliper. Place it back on top, line it up with all the holes, and that should be torqued at 68. Again, of course, I'm not a bike mechanic, so you guys, I'm sure that this video is for the most part just to give you a rough idea of what it takes to swap those two tires out, and I hope I did that for you. Because I know originally when I wanted to do this, I had no idea how it went, and a lot of my information I actually got from you guys online. So this is just my way of giving back to someone who hasn't been through the process. Of course, you'll probably do some things a little different than what I did, but you'll have a general idea of what needs to be done, and we'll probably do a better job than what I did. We get those lined up. Tighten them down again at 68 pounds. So, at any point, I hope this was a help to somebody. If it's something you might want to tackle, by all means, you might have to do a little more research and verify some of the things that I did, and actually do it the way that you like to do it. So, good luck to you guys. Hope it helps someone, and be safe out there.